And we're back in hot mic. Welcome back to a public meeting. Attendance is taken. Thank you, Karen. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion of tonight's agenda? I'm wondering if we need to make the
amendment?
Yeah, I think we need to add a vote for closed session on, we have a vote for closed session on the 25th, and we're also going to vote for a closed session on, what date is that, the 19th? Thank you.
So I guess I move that we have closed session on April 19 at 6 p.m.
Just a vote for?
Yes.
Yes, do we have a second on that to add to our agenda, a vote for closed session on April 19th?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion of the amendment? Thank you. What for? Real estate. Thank you. I was just writing that down.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to take a vote for the amendment to the agenda to vote for closed session for real estate on April 19th. And can we do that? We don't need a roll call for that. No. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. So that amendment is added. Any further discussion of the agenda?
Do we need another amendment for the other closed session?
We have that already in there. Yes. All right, and then, so then a vote on approving the agenda this evening. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. Agenda approved, which moves us on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, then we shall take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. That moves us on to citizens' comments. Karen?
I did not receive.
All right. Anything from online land? Nothing? Okay, great. Next up, financial reports. Eli.
Good evening. Your financial report begins on the page marked 23 in the packet. This is the time of year when cash starts decreasing. So we are decreased $1.1 million from spending, down from 10.4 on January 31st to 9.3 million on February 28th. We have received 99.9% of the budgeted tax receipts. That will continue to roll in over the remaining months, so we will end that up a little bit over budget, which is always nice to see. You can see also the fund balance in the general fund ticked up slightly in February, and partially that's just a slightly shorter month. But also it's, again, the time of year when we are starting to accrue additional revenue in excess of our expenditures. You can see that under expenditures there, the year-to-date expenditures are $10.8 million, and under the revenue under expenditures, currently our revenues exceed expenditures by $1.3 million. So we're on course for about a $1.3 to $1.5 million surplus at the end of the fiscal year, but there are things that are spent more at the end of the year, especially with us starting to get into programming again. We've got Summer Festival coming up. There's a number of expenditures coming up, so I don't expect that we will be as far under in the remainder of the year as we have been thus far, but we are definitely on track to finish with a more than $1 million surplus in the operating budget. And then just to look at the, skipping to page 26, the statement of revenues and expenditures. Once again, you can see there the interest income because of the bonds in the investment accounts. Those will continue to be negative all year. That's something that happens when there's a lot of inflation. And then just as a few quick notes in the expenditures side, there were no grants and memorials expenses this year. Similarly, it's the MEPSR's pass-through up in the revenues. You can see that that's blank this time as well. That is because that only happens once a year, and it's in December, is when the MEPSR's pass-through hits. That's when we get some money from the state that then we pay back to the state. Makes a lot of sense. And then, yes, we had no grants and memorial expenses, so all of the lines that show empty are correct. And again, we're about 66% of the way through the year, so you can see most of the funds are pretty close to that. A few of them running a little bit above, a few of them running a little behind. We will, as usual, bring a resolution in the last month to square up any line items that need to be adjusted in keeping with the line item budget. So that's about it for the financial report. Any questions about any of that? All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Eli. All right, that moves us on to committee reports. We have first executive committee. We have not had an executive committee meeting. So that will move us on to B, which is Library Director Search Committee. We have successfully concluded our search. We have secured our top candidate. He's sitting in this room. So let's congratulate Eli again on becoming the director of the Ann Arbor District Library. Eli's officially accepted the terms of our offer and will begin as director officially on April 1st. So congratulations to you and to all of us for a great process and just an incredible amount of thoughtfulness and good work to secure a positive future in our leadership. Any questions? All right, that moves us on to budget and finance. Scott.
Yep, so we had our first budget and finance committee meeting with the new configuration. And this meeting was primarily an orientation for the new members to kind of get everybody up to speed on what the budget process looks like and what the role of the committee is, both for the budget and then with any other sort of budget and finance related questions coming from staff and the administration. And so we don't have a ton to report. The schedule will be, we in the committee will see a draft budget in April at our next committee meeting, and then the full board will see a finalized version of that for review in April, and then I believe we go to approval in May to kind of stay on schedule. And the biggest note, just so we're aware of it, and we've talked about this already, we are switching over to new budget software, but the goal is that all the reports we see should look the same. So that should, from our perspective, it should kind of be smooth, but there will be a cutover at the beginning of the fiscal year to the new software. So, and we'll still maintain all of our records in the old system and then cut over everything to the new system for the new year. So hoping that will go smoothly, but I think that's pretty much everything unless I missed anything. So, yeah.
One kind of related item to the process is also this is an annualized activity, which is looking at the Friends leasing contract with us, and Jamie and I met with Friends leadership and staff at the new warehouse space to tour with them, because we are anticipating making a transition to moving their book collecting operations and processing to that site when it's available, which we don't exactly know when yet. So we are, the staff is in the process of kind of reviewing the agreement, which sort of syncs up a little bit with the financial year, with the fiscal year. So we'll be taking a look at that agreement as usual typically April, May, right? And it will look different this year based on this kind of reorganizing of space for them. Just want everyone to be aware of that.
All right,
Scott?
that's all for me.
Awesome.
Any questions? No?
Library report, Shalanya.
All right. Oops, looks like. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of an overview of the annual report. So I'm not going to go by the report as it exists on the website point by point, but there are some things that we're going to point out for you about where the real stories are here. So one thing to point out here is basically in this particular report, we're talking about vestibule service. We're talking about that chunk of time when we were pretty much just open in the lobby. So what I want to point out when you're looking at the figure here that says registered card holders, there's about 64,476 registered card holders. Really, what we might have said is active card holders. One of the things that we were looking at during this year is who was using their card. Sometimes in the past, we've looked at like the entire number of cards that we have. This is specifically looking at those that were not expired, just to make sure that you see exactly what you're looking at. And you see that there's just over 2,500 new cards issued during this time. That's a low number for us, but placed within the context of what's going on during this time, we're pretty pleased with that number. That means that over 2,500 people went and got a new library card, even though our buildings were not open. These are all people who, for the most part, these are people who specifically did this online. They decided that library use was important enough to them that they needed to get this card during this time. All right. So we're looking at some door count numbers. Obviously, these are not what we're accustomed to looking at, but the real story isn't in the numbers. The real story is in the distribution of this ring here. If you take a look at downtown, which is at 18% here, and Mallett's Creek, which is at 17%, have you ever heard numbers like that before when comparing downtown to one of our branches? Everything else is pretty similar, 11% at Pittsfield, 18% at Traverwood, except Westgate. Westgate's got that 36%. And again, this is when we're doing when we had the vestibules open, Sweetwater's was also open. So that's what we believe that you're seeing here. The ability for people to come in and do their orders at Sweetwater's. So that figure, just to make sure that folks who are listening to this, that door count is 375,085. And that's about 20% of what we did in 2019. The reason that we've made the comparison of 2019 is that 2020 wasn't a normal year either, and we had several chunk of time where we didn't have our doors open. Okay, so what we're looking at now are page views, about 12 million page views. That's pretty normal for us. Nothing to see here with those numbers. There is something to see here with the videos that we released. There were 1,141. That is not an error. The staff created, produced, and posted over 1,000 videos in a year's time. That resulted in over 200,000 views and over 17,000 hours watched. So that's how folks were using their library during this time.
Wow, that's incredible.
We were super excited to see that. And then the other thing I'd like to point out here has to do with our circulation. We have 4,289,133 system-wide physical circs. That's 67% of what we did in 2019, which already is pretty big considering what was going on at the time. But if we recall the number we just saw, with respect to our door count, we did that much circulation with 20% of our door count. So that's a pretty impressive use of the library from our users. It just shows how efficient that vestibule service was for folks and how important it was to our users that they had access to that service. And we did 313 room bookings. Room bookings came up quite a bit over the various reports over this time. And, that's not a huge number, but these folks were super happy to have this. And so remember, we are all zoomed out at this point, right? Everybody's all Zoom all the time. but it wasn't like that at the beginning. And there were many people who we were able to assist in using Zoom. And these are folks who may or may not have had access to this tool that seems so everywhere and commonplace right now. So we're pretty happy about that as well. All right. I'm just gonna pause and see if there were any questions about that piece.
I just want to comment that the circulation number is remarkable.
We were pretty happy about it. So this, I just wanted to draw your attention to a recent posting that we had for a new position in our events department. Normally we are not talking about postings here, but this one we wanted to talk about because we specifically posted this with intention of having this person dedicated to helping the library move forward with respect to more inclusive program offerings. There's a lot, like when we were thinking about this, that is what I like to call forever work. There's no way to like ever have exhausted that. So it makes sense to add a position. And the idea here is that we have somebody who's always keeping their eye on the ball and always making sure that we hang on to the threads that we've picked up. So we're actively hiring for that position, and hopefully we'll have someone in position in the coming weeks. All right, so this is about Full Moon and Festivals. Our final luminary and puppet making workshop is happening out at Parkland Plaza this Sunday. We will have a presence at both events. We'll have a table at Full Moon. Full Moon is happening on April 1st, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Festivals is Sunday before that, the 27th, 4 to 5 p.m., the big parade. If you know people who are interested in carrying puppets, we have a piece on our website for that too. Community members have the opportunity to sign up to volunteer and participate in that way. It's at aadl.org/festivalshelp if there's anyone out there who's wanting to do that. We talked about this last time and we're bringing it back. 83 items were sold. We were pretty happy to see that. This was a flash sale. This was just up 2 weeks, and in that 2 weeks time, as a result of that 2 weeks, there will be 80 more 3 AADL shirts out in our community. We plan on having another sale later in the spring. And by we, I mean through the Friends. We did not make these shirts and sell them at the desks. We mentioned this at the last meeting. Online meeting room bookings are back. They have a nice calendar view. We expect them to be easier to use. Because of that view, you can see exactly what space is available. We're returning to the model that we had pre-pandemic, where people are able to make their reservation online. Same day are available, in person, through text, if you call. This is for everything beyond the same day. And those bookings can be for 2 hours. And this slide also mentions that each room can be booked 12 times per year, per card. Sorry, 12 times per card per year. That is exactly what we were doing in the past. So this really is more of a return to service with an enhanced interface. Indoor story times are back. What you're looking at on this slide is the March schedule. These have been going well. We've had about 30 children and their caregivers at each one of these. We have another one coming up on April 1st, and at this point, we're working on the April and May schedules. This is something that we'll continue to do, and we will add branches and more instances as we continue to rebuild this program. We're very excited about this event. It's a name change clinic that's happening right here in this space, Wednesday, March 30th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. We're doing this in partnership with the Jim Toy Community Center, the Outlaws Student Group at Michigan Law, and the Spectrum Center. This very tiny text is just describing what the event is, but the highlights are that folks can come to this event and they can get the overview about the process of making a name change in Michigan. And then they'll have time to fill out any forms, any paperwork that's needed. there with hands-on help from the partner organizations. That's like a very pregnant pause, but we have a New York Times bestseller author event happening in the flesh, in the building.
Hooray.
You know, I had to deliver on that pregnant pause. So this is actually an event that that we had begun to plan before we closed, and then it just got pushed out and pushed out and pushed out and pushed out, and now we can actually have it. In the time between then and now, this book actually was one of the finalists for the read this year, and so we were hanging on for a moment to see like what exactly we were going to ask Angeline Woolley to do, and now we're going to have her here very soon. Also very soon, Arab American Heritage Month is coming up, so we just wanted to mention that we do have some events, both pre-recorded events that will happen on AADL TV and in-person events throughout the month of April. And then we will also do the daily quotes that we've been doing for the various months starting last year. And so this one sort of completes the calendar. So we felt like it was pretty important to make sure that we included April in that recognition with the daily quotes, even though we are stepping back to in-person programming. One of the events I'd like to highlight is the in-person event. It's Arabica, I think is how, I should have double-checked the pronunciation, with Kareem Nagy on Wednesday, April 13th, downtown. It's a family event that features music and dance from around the Arab world, and that will be happening in our lobby, so we're pretty excited to have that. We also have a couple of things that we are planning in partnership with the Arab American National Museum. We are finalizing some of the details of that, so we do have a variety of events planned here.
Is it okay for us to ask a question? I think.
Yes, I can't hear you very well though.
Yeah. I think Ramadan is like basically April this year, and I'm just wondering if there's any like potential, if there's been any thought to that specifically. I think, you know, people go about their lives, but I just know I'm assuming it's always April, but Ramadan isn't always April.
Yeah, we are aware of that. That was one of the things that one of the student groups that we have an awareness that that was happening, but we also had to work with what the various performers could do. And we're hoping that with the online and in-person options that people will be able to make the choices that work for their families with this. But that's an excellent point. We were aware though.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. This is brand new. This is the AADL Seed Sampler. Basically, this is the library's approach to the seed library idea. You know, one of the things that I want to point out is that we have decided not to accept seeds back. That's the trickiest part of the seed library. And so we're actually more of a seed distributor here. And that's why we've called ourselves the Seed Sampler, because this is a little bit different than what somebody might imagine when they imagine seed library. But if you check out this site, the page on the site, aadl.org/seed sampler, you'll see the variety of seeds that we have available. There are over 20 seeds that people can choose from. You just basically place a request for what you'd like. Those seeds will either be mailed to you or delivered to your local branch, whatever your choice is. And through that, you'll also get like information about how to plant these seeds. We're super excited about it. We're kind of doing a soft launch, like literally we just sent the email to staff about this today. The website has just gone live recently, and we're already receiving orders for it. So we're pretty excited. We are excited, and we can see that others are excited about it as well.
Can you tell us about what kinds of seeds they are, or like where they're coming from?
Sure. So we've partnered with I want to make sure I get this right, the Ann Arbor Seed Company, and we're getting seeds that like make sense to sow in this area. And so we've done that in partnership with them. There are vegetable seeds, a variety of them. I mean, I know we have beets, I know we have some tomatoes, I know we have kale, I know we have radishes. There are some plants that make sense as companion plants to the other pieces, and but there are over 25 varieties. There's some herbs. Some of them come in packs of 5. Basically, if it's a plant that takes up a lot of space, how many of them do you need? You know, normally when you buy seeds in a larger pack, there's way more than you would ever sow in your garden in 1 year. And some of them that are harder to germinate successfully, or you just need more of them. There are 10. So for example, dill would be one where you would get 10 seeds, but eggplant will be one where you get 5. But it's just a general garden variety of seeds that make sense to grow here where we live. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, it was me.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And we have some social media comments. Now here I'm going to rely on the paper because I can never read screens when there is small print on them, smallish print. So give me a moment, please. I can tell looking at this one, though, that this is the one that came from 7 Cylinder Studios. That's the group that did the Welcome to Kami High documentary. And this photo they've shared on Instagram. And this is from their Jones School documentary that they're currently producing. And the caption says, "Hello from Jones School documentary production. So grateful to all the precious participants for sharing history with us. Big thanks to Heidi at AADL Graham for the tremendous help. Keep going production."
Just to add, we are funding that production of that documentary. That is a library.
We have some bike love here. The caption reads, and this is a song that I do not know, but even if I did know it, I would not sing it to you because I like you guys too much. But it says, "Baby, you're a song. You make me want to roll my windows down and cruise." And this was just a nice March afternoon at Traverwood. This one is my favorite one in this deck. This is a young user. Her name's Autumn. She got her first AADL library card on this day. You can see that she's downtown in the youth area. So they came down and got her card since it was March, and March is reading month. And this young reader is recognizing a lot of sight words, and so her family thought it was time, and she was super excited to check out her own books. And you can see that excitement right there. And it looks like she's reading them right now, which is always fun to see. And this guy, I mean, maybe this is my favorite too. Maybe I have multiple favorites. But this is I guess we can call it a belated Happy St. Patrick's Day. The caption says, "Shenanigans at the library," and we can see that he's wearing a green shirt that has a bow tie printed on it and some suspenders. Right. And this is one of our tools, one of our music tools. Twitter user Maya Patel Day shared her love for AADL in this omnichord, which Maya describes as an electronic heart with drum beats and stuff on it. She also says, "God bless Ann Arbor's library system. OMG." We have some more music tool love. And this caption says, "I decided to go to my library, love you AADL, and borrow some pedals today for inspiration." Finally, a patron shared this image of a copy of ska punk band We Are the Union's most recent album and tagged the band. This is a band that formed in Ann Arbor in 2005, and they're now based in California. But they saw this tweet and responded, "That is 100% the coolest place anyone has spotted the record." And maybe one day soon we'll be able to bring some ska to the laboratorium. Right, and that's it for the library report.
Thank you. Comments, reflections, questions? called an omnicord?
It is. There's like, Eli told me a little bit more about this, but I did not trust that I was going to get it correct, so I'm
Yeah.
going to gesture at him.
It's actually a circuit bent omnicord. It is a modified omnicord, one of a kind, to make it even cooler than a
mod.
regular vintage weird instrument. It is a modified vintage weird instrument, and it is super fun and weird.
An omnicord is a vintage instrument?
Yes, it's from the 70s.
Oh my God. Well, I was born in that decade, so I guess I'm vintage. Great report. I had a question just in going back to the job posting about just like terminology for calling someone an event tech and like what does that mean when you say event tech?
So one of the positions that we have in the library is called the library technician position, and basically it's a library technician that specializes in events, right? So currently we have 3 people who are members of the events team, and they're the folks who handle a lot of the details and the back end of events, and this is just another one there. So it's just like, yep, it's just someone in that technician level that is in the events part of the library.
Cool. Sounds like a great position.
I think so.
Yeah. I hope you get a good person.
I hope so too, and if it doesn't happen the first time around, we will
Keep
post it
looking.
again and keep looking until we get what we need.
It's amazing. Terrific. All right. Anything else?
I'm just so excited that there's live events coming back.
Gosh, me too.
It's nice to be back in the saddle. It felt weird, but it feels the same. It's like this is definitely one of those back on the bicycle moments for us.
Yeah. I know that it feels both exhilarating and completely insane at the same time. A lot of like catching, like just sort of catching your,
Dusting off our checklist.
yeah, like, oh, wait, we forgot we had to do this thing in the building when we did it before. I'm in the same zone as you are. All right. Thank you, Shalani. Much appreciation to you. That takes us to old business, which is the library director search update, which it's the search that went so well, we had to talk about it twice in this meeting. I did have one other comment that I wanted to make, which is that Rich Reddy is working on, or has been working on a formal press release, which will go out or has gone out as of this meeting. Kaboom! Thank you. So that'll be on the website, and it's just our official announcement that everything has happened as we wanted it to. All right, moving right along to new business. We do have a resolution on page 28, which will resolution for authorizing the Parkland Plaza facility upgrades and contracting with O'Neill Construction for construction management of the project. You'll note that under item number 1 of the resolution, there is a blank space, and Len is going to provide us some context for this and give us a sense of why that blank space is there and what we're going to do with it. Take it away, please.
Alrighty. So as we started the project, we were really looking at this space, the office build-out part, as a house for the archive space, which is about 6,800 square feet. So we approached it in that way, and you can see a good picture of the inside of this building, which is much larger. So the scale of the project as we've got into it to house not only the archive space and staff, but also the conversations to have bindery and acquisitions there. So, the project grew. And this is a great picture because the columns you see on the wall, that's kind of been our scope, right? Each column is 25 feet. The width of the building is 125 feet. So as we've looked at the project, we've moved the project out. And you can kind of see it here. So this would be the first floor. And this is the space you were just looking at from overhead. The back wall, not that little front square, that's the existing offices, so that's outside of this scope. But that back wall is the back wall behind the workstations there. To the left would be our paper vault. This would be the first floor. And you can see that's about 12,500 square feet. So we went into the project asking for everything with our construction manager and the architect. The budget came back a little bit higher than we expected. And so we went back to plan and said, okay, what is it? And we call it a 2-bay option, 3-bay option. 2 bays being 50 feet by 125 feet, 3-bay being 75 by 125 feet. So the blank on the resolution is really for the board to discuss and decide on the scope of the project. The 2-bay option, I think we have, the 2-bay option, we have it here with the square footage, the number of workstations, the base cost, the geothermal option, additions. Those additions would be a mezzanine to house mechanical equipment and a canopy outside, and then the total cost of both floor plans and options. So the discussion tonight would hopefully be which of the projects would the board like to approve? That we've already had the resolution to approve around $2 million in funds. At this point, we're not asking for any more approval of funds, just for authorization to partner with O'Neill on the project and which scope the board would like for us to pursue.
And so to be clear, because I'm just looking back at the notes that I have from when we discussed this, is that there is an option to leave in or extract geothermal. And so that can be, added or subtracted to the cost.
Yeah, so the base estimate so if we don't do geo, so we wouldn't do the mezzanine and we wouldn't do the canopy. For the 2-bay is 2.5 million, and for the 3-bay is 2.9 million.
Okay.
Oh, all the stuff below it is, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
All the stuff below it is additional stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
The second to last line is the total.
Yes. So the total construction budget at the bottom, that's basically everything in our wish list within the two projects. I'd like to note with the geo option, which we've all talked about and we'd like to pursue, the mechanical engineer gives us a 10 to 12 year payback for that. And then it is more expensive than traditional HVAC. But with a 10 to 12 year payback, it's something we've wanted to do. And if we decide to do solar in the future, we're confident the panels and that infrastructure could basically power the building.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because the geothermal costs something, but traditional HVAC also costs something.
Yeah.
Is it 400,000 on top or, okay,
It is.
so that includes
Yes.
taking out the other HVAC?
Well, no, the traditional, so O'Neill base estimate includes traditional HVAC.
Right, but
And I think that number was around $300,000 or $380,000. And so the total cost of HVAC going geo is closer to 700.
okay, got it.
Got it?
That's what I was
Okay.
assuming. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So on the geothermal, the numbers are pretty close for the two sizes.
Yeah.
So the geothermal here is just to condition the finished space and not the greater warehouse, or is this to condition the entire?
The finished space, that's correct.
Okay.
The warehouse space, there's 2 heating units in there, and cooling wouldn't make sense with
Right.
with the air leaks with doors, and we have the dampers for the exhaust fans, things like that. So cooling the space doesn't make sense. The good thing is I was in there last summer and it never really got hot. There's so much air up above you. It's a fine space for the warehouse.
Okay, so we wouldn't be cooling the main space, and we've got heaters if we need it in the main space. So this is just the finished space. Okay.
I have a question too.
Yes.
Do you have projections on how quickly we would outgrow each of these two options since
Oh, great question. I think with option A, which is the 2-bay option, we'd be at capacity for the staff we'd want to be out there pretty close to day one. The 3-bay option, and that's why that was our first approach with it, was the 3-bay option, because we wanted space to grow into. Other projects, other buildings, things like that. How many people could we put out there? Partner programs down the road. How can we really use the space? And again, we got the budget back for that option B, 3-bay, and we kind of went, okay, let's dial it back to what our need is. And really, Scott mentioned about the difference between the two for geo. There's not a huge difference because all of the steel and concrete's almost the same, right? I think the total difference between both projects is around $465,000. And it's mostly due to the amount of steel that you have to span the space. We went at it, we even looked at like traditional wood frame options, and it's just, it can't bear the load.
And we don't have any good local mass timber, so.
If we execute the most expensive option with geothermal and 3-bay, that brings us at 3.5. We had earmarked 2 million already, which is already in the capital projects fund, and we are expecting at least $1 million over under surplus at the end of the year, which we can later discuss on how to use that, but that would either go into the fund balance or it would go into the capital projects fund typically. And so that gets us almost there, and so we would be looking at taking another like $500,800,000 from the general fund ultimately.
Yeah, and we've received these probably a week ago. I do want to get with finance and see where we stand with the capital project fund now.
Okay.
Because I know the generator project is around $100,000 under budget.
Okay.
We never use contingency funds, things like that. I think there's still some from the branch meeting room project. So there's some funds available in the capital fund now, but I wouldn't want to say what they are.
Yeah.
So
you think there's more than 2 million probably in there?
There's money in the capital fund that's probably left over either from other projects or things that haven't been used. But to say it's probably less than 500,000.
Okay.
I would say 250,000 is probably in there that's not earmarked for another project. And that's just a guess.
And also to clarify, as I look at this, if we think that we're going to grow into 3-bay, it is more cost effective to do it now than to do the 2-bay and then add on the third later, because I'm seeing the difference in the cost per square foot.
Yeah. Once you're in there and you set the columns and you do all the floor cuts, a lot of the cost for construction like this is just the mobilization. And I think we talked about it before. We're looking at about 20 weeks to get steel. Once we commit to it and order it, and so all that goes into that cost per square foot. Once you get everyone mobile and on site, honestly, the bigger the project, the cost goes down per square foot.
I have a question, not to put you too much on the spot, but I appreciate you, backing up and looking at the lesser budget. But like, what's your opinion of? Do you think it makes sense to do the higher budget at this time? I mean,
I do, because I look at the parking plaza space as the multi-use space, right? When we look at it 5 years or even 20 years from now, I think the potential to do what we want to do now for office space allows us to grow into it. It still gives us a ton of warehouse space for anything we want to do, programs or partners, to do the office space now. It lets us just start thinking about those things. And to revisit it and then go back into construction if we decide it's not enough, we'd be back here, it'd be probably double the cost. We'd be back at another $200 a square foot to add on to something that's already there. So I think, yes, if you're asking my opinion, to do the bigger project now makes more sense, because it just opens the door for us with the building. Everyone has ideas for the building, and I think they're all great ideas. To get this locked in now, it allows the people to go in and do the work that we know are going to be there, our current staff, but also allows space for other opportunities. Because there's a lot of work that people do that doesn't really matter what building they're in, right? And we've learned that over the last couple of years. So this gives us the opportunity to provide that for our staff and other partners. And
do you feel like this plan makes sense, like from a flexibility standpoint, like that we don't know exactly what we're going to be doing, but what you're planning out kind of has room for interpretation?
I do, yeah, I do. Yeah. And the other part, I left this, we went away from it, but This front portion we've called it the traditional office space of what Arbor Beverage was, that space is still going to be utilized. We're still there's not a lot of work to do in there, but that space we can also use for really whatever we want to use it for. And there's been several conversations about how to best use that space. So there's a big footprint there. But to do, if we go to the 2-bay option, it's enough space for what we need today, and it doesn't allow for room to grow.
Thank you.
Len, do you feel like the other staff are lining up also wanting the,
I think it depends on the staffer.
okay,
There's interest for sure. I don't think we've really polled everyone. You know, the groups that are going, we know they're going. We've had those conversations. I think for other staffers, if we open and give that opportunity, they'll want to see the space like anyone else, right? I think the big thing for any of our sites, parking, right? You can park there. They did put the sidewalk in. That's all complete. So I think it's really attractive location for a lot of people, but for some it might not be.
and yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to put you, it's, in our transition period, it's difficult to know how to address the three of you. But I think I mostly meant, Eli and Sherlanya, like, how you felt, do you agree with Len, I guess?
Yeah, just to jump in, one thing that it's quite all right, we've had our first public programs out there the past 3 Sundays.
Yeah.
And the staff who have worked those have been like, this is amazing, and they're
Okay.
having all kinds of ideas, and like, we hope this space will still be available, right? And it's like, there's so much volume inside the warehouse that whether we take away 50 feet of it or 75 feet of it, it's still a lot of warehouse.
Okay, cool.
And I think that what we don't have anywhere else is these workstations and the larger paper vault, right? And that's really what we're getting for that, and the more cost-effective dollars per square foot of now as compared to later.
Okay.
So I think we are really hearing from the staff a lot of excitement about that.
Okay,
The
awesome.
departments that are definitely moving are excited. And then there'll be opportunities for other people to choose to relocate out there,
Okay,
depending on their role and their job and their desk and their needs and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of excitement across the staff about it.
okay, amazing. And I just feel I should clarify, like, Len, I totally respect your, you bring your expertise, so I'm just curious about the other, side of the coin, like,
Oh, no worries. no
Okay.
worries. I'm glad Eli brought up the paper vault because that is the big difference, right?
yeah,
We also want to give the archives space to grow, right? As collections become available,
right, exactly.
that's,
I think that's definitely appealing as a professional librarian.
and we've learned that our lease spot on South Industrial, they built the cold room out for our materials. We get to build this one the way it should be built, and I think it'll serve us in the future. And again, to put it at capacity day one, I don't know if that's the right move.
Yes, that totally makes sense. Thank you so much.
So just to clarify on that, so the 2-bay option versus the 3-bay option, we get a bigger paper vault with
Yes,
3-bay, okay.
I think we had that on there.
It was, yeah, second line
Yeah.
is workstation.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yep.
great.
And I don't suppose any benefits come into play from installing geothermal, do they? Like they do for residential, or is there any like,
Yes, there are, not as much for like what we're going to consider a commercial use.
Okay.
For us, it really is the payback, right?
Yeah.
You look at it, when you look at a lot of just any plant system, usually at a 30 to 40-year life cycle. So anything under a 15-year payback is always good. So to hear this was at 10 and 12 years, that's kind of what perked me up. I thought, wow, we're gonna operate basically 20 years at zero cost. The other benefit of the warehouse space is all of our equipment can be housed inside. That allows it to last longer.
Yeah, I hear fossil fuels are getting more expensive. Any other questions before we kind of move into the formal business with this resolution? Because we don't have a number in there, I'm feeling that there is a general consensus about the 3.5 number. This is not a vote because we're going to read it in and then obviously we can discuss it or change it when we get to the resolution. But I'll read the resolution out loud. This is a resolution authorizing Parkland Plaza facility upgrades and contracting with O'Neill Construction for construction management of the project. Longest title of a resolution ever. One, to authorize the construction of upgrades and new workspaces at the Parkland Plaza facility with a budget of $3,502,173. Thank you. To authorize Associate Director Len Lemery to enter into a contract with O'Neill Construction Incorporated to manage the construction work, and that all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with this provision of this resolution are rescinded. Can I have a motion to consider this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. In a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Corrine. Further discussion?
I think the high number makes a ton of sense.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, I think the higher number makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, the compelling thing for me is the cost per square foot.
And knowing that we're at capacity right now.
Yeah. So.
And my understanding is that this is not a strain on our
This really, where we stand right
I mean-
now, it won't touch our fund balance.
Yeah, we
Where
have
are
a
right now.
$5.5 million fund balance as of today, or as of last month, with a $1 million surplus coming, 6.5, with 2 million plus in the fund already. So that, here I'm terrible at mental math, but that's about $8.5 million, I think. I was a musical theater major.
You could sing it.
About $8.5 million. Thank you.
Sold.
All right. Wow. Any other discussion, conversation? Seems like a good investment. All right. Shall we vote? I think this is just a group vote. Yeah? Thank you. All right. All in favor? Yes.
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 Aye.
All right. Any opposed? There are none. Okay. Terrific. Well, congratulations. Let's order that steel. Thanks also, Len.
It's like half enough to make us have a baby.
Thanks, Len, too, for all your work on this. As you know, we're very excited about this new location and new space. All right. We have 2 items of new business left. We need to hear a motion for closed session on April 19th for the discussion of real estate.
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded it.
Thank you. I think that was Dharma Anna. Yeah? Okay. Any discussion? All right, then we will have a roll call vote.
Trustee Uckman?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Lehop?
Yes.
Trustee Moore?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes.
Trustee Vanderbroek?
Yes.
Motion passes. All right. And then we have a vote for closed session at the April 25th regular board meeting for discussion of real estate and labor negotiations. Can I have a motion for closed session April 25th?
So moved.
Thank you. That was Molly. Thank you.
Second.
Corinne, thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'm confused. I thought that the other one was to take the place of.
We're holding both dates.
Okay, got it.
And
Okay.
we will choose one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Trustee Uckman?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Lehop?
Yes.
Trustee Moore?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes.
Trustee Vanderbroek?
Yes.
Great. Motion passes. If we decide to cancel the 19th, Karen, do we have restrictions on how much in advance we need to do that? We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't really think so. We'll
Okay.
do it obviously prior to that, but we'll put a notice out, and we post it online, and we post it in the building.
Great. Okay.
It's been canceled.
Terrific, thank you. We're just anticipating one of those dates, and we have some scheduling to do, and we'll use one of them. All right, great. Have we any more citizens' comments? Awesome. Well, it is 7:59, and we spent a lot of time together last week, so I'm happy for a 1-hour meeting today. We're adjourned.